Hello, Panthers. Welcome back to another day of 8th grade math. Today we will be doing notes 9.2, lines of best fit. And today's notes will be for Monday, May 4th, 2020. So let's get started. 9.2, lines of best fit. Well, what is a line of best fit? How do you draw a line of best fit? These are all the questions that we're going to answer today. A line of best fit is a line that is close to most of the data points. So let's go ahead and highlight that because it's very important. Now that we know that what it is, we need to know how to draw it. In order to draw a line of best fit, we have to draw a line through the data so that half of the points are below and half of the points are above the line drawn. So I have 3 graphs here, and I'm going to show you some examples of what that means. Number 1 says, sketch a line of best fit for each scatter plot below. So now for this section, you're going to need a straight edge. If you don't have a ruler, that is okay. You can use the side of a book, you can use the side of a clipboard, the side of a piece of paper, just anything that makes a straight line. I'm going to be using my word hunt book because, during this quarantine, I've been doing a lot of word searches. So, sketch a line for best fit. Let's go ahead and draw a line. Now, I want to line up my straight edge on these dots, and I want to do it in a way that half of my points are above the line and half of my points are below. So let's go ahead and draw a straight line. And because my line is going upward, we know that this is a positive line. And I have a few points above the line, I have a few points below. Let's look at the second example. Now, this data or these dots are going downwards. So we're going to line up our straight edge in a way where about half of the data or half of the points are above and half of the points are below. So let's do that. We're going to draw a straight line through it. And there we go. And because this is going down, we know that this is a negative line. Let's look at our third example. In our third example, we have some points going up. We have some points going down. So what we want to do is draw a line going straight through the middle, because that would mean that half of my points are above, half of my points are below. And this is neither positive nor negative, so we can leave it as is. So overall, in order to draw a line of best fit, we have to figure out how to draw a line where half of our points are on top, half of our points are on the bottom. Top, bottom. Okay, let's go ahead and move on to writing equations for the line of best fit. So we're going to do this in steps. Step 1 says choose any 2 points on the line, and they don't have to be data points. So whatever graph we're dealing with, we're going to start by choosing 2 points. Step 2, we're going to calculate the slope. In order to calculate the slope, we have to use our slope formula that we have done in the past 2 lessons. Then step 3, we have to calculate the y-intercept. That means we have to calculate our b value. And then step 4, we write our equation, y is equal to mx plus b. So let's look at what the question is asking. The scatter plot shows the number of cell phone subscribers in the US. The question says, write an equation in slope-intercept form for the line of best fit that is drawn and interpret the slope and y-intercept. So we're going to use our steps to go ahead and do that. Well, step 1 says choose any 2 points on the line, and they don't have to be data points. So we're going to look at this graph and choose any 2 points. Let's get another color so we can see that clearly. And I'm going to start by using the point 2 and about 125 right over here. And I'm using that point because it's on the line. And let me go ahead and write that so that you guys know what point that is, 2 and 125. Now let's go up our line and see what other point lands on this line. Well, this point right here at 8 and 250 is the other data point that I'm going to be using. Okay, step 1, choose any 2 points on the line. Done. Step 2, calculate the slope. So, in order to find the slope, we can write it over here, step 2. Slope. In order to find the slope, we're going to use our slope formula, y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. And the points that we are using is 2 and 125 and 8 and 250. So remember, before we do anything, we always label what we know. We know that this is an x point. We know that this is a y point. We know that this is x. We know that this is y. And because this is my first point out of the 2 that I'm using, this is going to be x1 and y1. And because this is my second point out of the 2 that I'm using, this is going to be x2 and y2. Okay, let's plug this in. So my slope, my m, is going to be y1 minus y2 over x1 minus x2. So when we plug that in, our y1 is 125, our y2 is 250, our x1 is 2, and our x2 is 8. 125 minus 250 is negative 125. 2 minus 8 is negative 6. Okay, so if we divide 6 into 125, we get 20.8. And those of you guys who are wondering how I got 20.8, we know that the negatives divide out, and if you use your calculator to divide 125 divided by 6, you will get 20.8. What this means, because the question says to interpret the data, interpret what this answer means. In terms of the question, this means that 20.8 million subscribers per year since 1999. Because we have our Y value as the subscribers in terms of millions of people, and our X value is the years. And due to our 2 points and finding our slope, this means that 20.8 million subscribers per year since 1999. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead and draw a line, just so for our next step we don't get confused. Step 3 says calculate the y-intercept. And before I forget, I'm going to go ahead and check off step 2 because that's what we did. We found our slope. Step 3 says calculate the y-intercept. So let's go ahead and label that. Well, in order to find our y-intercept, we have to find this b value in our equation because that's what a y-intercept is. So we need to start with our equation. Y is equal to mx plus b, because that is always the equation of a line. So now remember, we can use any of these 2 points when we're dealing with x and y, when we're plugging things in. I'm going to go ahead and use the second point, 8 and 250. However, if you feel more comfortable using the first point, you may go ahead and do that. So I know that my x value is 8 and my y value is 250. Well, let's plug this into our equation. Our y is 250, so I'm going to go ahead and plug in 250 for y. Our slope we found was 20.8. And our x value in the point that I'm using is 8. And then we don't know what our b is because we're trying to find that. So we're just going to go ahead and leave that alone for now. I'm going to draw an arrow just to continue because I'm running out of room here. So we want to leave 250 alone because there's nothing to calculate as of now. And if you go ahead and use your calculator to multiply 20.8 times 8, you will get 166.4. So I calculated this by multiplying them together. And then once again, I'm going to leave my b value because that's what I'm trying to find. So you guys all know the next step very well. We've been practicing this the entire school year. In order to get rid of one number and get a variable by itself, we have to subtract that number to both sides of the equation. And the reason that we are subtracting is because this is a positive number. So let's subtract 166.4 to both sides of the equation.